Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host for the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. Oh, yeah.
Side.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I'd like to introduce Birgitta Visser. She's an soul empowerment coach and light configurator, delivering messages from the many light beings to the aid of humanity. She's a courier for those who wish to convey their messages across, and I for sure do. She's a Dutch mutt. I'm so sorry. Living the good life with her ninja black sidekick dog that she rescued from the streets in Florida. She's been a model, a bartender, a promo girl, a dog walker, a healer, a web designer, created her own organic soap line, designed jewelry, taught many holistic workshops, and maneuvered herself to holding a demanding job in the corporate industry. In other words, she's an excellent all-around chameleon. I'll say, welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Birgitta, you've got an incredible life story here, but before I tell anybody any of your story, I guess I'm just curious to know what brought you to where you are at currently right now in your journey.
Oh, well, like I said, trauma, life experiences. Oh, yeah. And I think that's a way for many of us, the more challenging life is, the more opportunity for growth. Well, it's either that or you sit flat out by the side of the road in that victimlicious cocktail, right? Yeah. And you remain in that victimhood. But no, I was abused as a kid by a friend of the family. And, back in the 80s, life was different than it is today. It's not like you said, hey, you know what, this happened to me. Right. It wasn't like that. So my mom never knew, my dad never knew. And, it came out probably 10 years later when we were watching an Oprah Winfrey show. And my mom's like, I'm so glad, because I have a sister as well. She's like, I'm so glad you kids were never abused. Oh, and I remained quiet. And that's when it came out, and my mom was like, well, who was it? It wasn't your dad, was it? And I'm like, no, it was a friend of the family. So I told her who it was. And she said, if your dad had still been in life, he would have just choked him. And, but, it's always like this. So, that happened in my youth. And then, I was very good at starving myself, very quietly. My mom never knew. I always used to chuck my sandwiches in the in the trash at school, and sometimes I would eat. I was skinny anyway growing up, and I was bullied as well. I grew up in Singapore, Malaysia, which was actually great. I absolutely loved the culture, but when we were back in Holland, life was just very, very different. My dad lost his job and there was no money. And then, there were times when my sister and I couldn't go to school, so we had to study at home. And my mom finally had enough. And when I was 13, that was in 1988, we went back to Holland, and that was like total cultural difference, totally different. And then my dad passed away. And something that I knew because I dreamt about it, and he suffered cardiac arrest, and he was cycling in the dunes in near the beach in Holland, and he just fell off his bike, and that was his last breath. And he when they took him to the hospital, doctor let him go because she said he would have been in a vegetative state, and he wouldn't have any quality of life. And he did leave a letter behind because I was adamant. And I said to my mom, he's left a letter behind, and he did. And he was actually kind of tired of life. He was very spiritual, and he was part of the AMORC, which is the Rosicrucians. Something I didn't even understand it at that point. It only came to light what the Rosicrucians were when I was writing my book. And I nearly dropped off my chair because he was very much into alchemy, and the Rosicrucians are all about, working with Saint Germain and about, well, alchemy is not about, well, transforming lead to lead to gold, right? Not in that physical, but it's really about transforming yourself from the heaviness to the enlightened state, right? The shifting that consciousness. But I was just blown away because I was already channeling Saint Germain and many of the masters, and it just clicked. It really, really clicked. But from, when my dad died, and like I said, I got bullied at school, I was scared of walking through the main entrance of school. That's how messed up I was.
Wow.
Because I didn't like kids looking at me. And so I would always take the side entrance. And if there was a guy in the corridor and the classroom was at the end, oh, heck no. I would take a different route. That's how scared I was of them. It was just so ingrained within me because, as you know, one bit of trauma that remains unhealed, right, creates another bit of trauma, and it keeps going. And
Yeah,
that
it's a
wasn't the
domino
only.
effect after that, especially if it's not healed.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I tried. My mom put me on a course to correct my posture, and that wasn't working because I was so rigid. I was really walking like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like Quasimodo. And and so then a hairdresser picked me up, or picked me up for a show, right? And I had really long hair, and then he chopped it all off, and I had a pixie cut, and I felt horrific. Oh my gosh, I felt so ugly. That did not do my self-worth any good. But, I took everything in my stride. But I also waded into toxic relationships. Of course I did. And it wasn't that, and I'm very thankful to the couple of relationships that I've had because they were wonderful teachers, but they became increasingly worse. Yeah, so it's one of these things where I was threatened by the Crips in Holland because my ex was a crack addict, something I had no clue about drugs, so to speak, in the sense of addiction. I mean, I'd taken it for recreational use when my stepdad passed away back in 2000 because I couldn't lean on anybody. And I was one of these people at the time. I was always there for others, but when it came to others being there for me, it was always like, oh, Birgitta needs to be happy, right? Because they're so used to me being there for others and being my happy self. It's like, and I felt a burden, and that carried on for many, many years. But I've never been one to sit by the side of the road, so to speak. I've never been one to throw in the towel. I have always soldiered on because that's my programming, right? And so even though when I was threatened in Holland, I did help my ex. He had been kidnapped, right, for ransom. I helped the police out. I lost pretty much everything. Don't really care because, you can start over. But he was deported back to the US. Whilst my mom took me out of Holland in the space of 2 days. And and then I made a feeble attempt on my life with a whole box of ibuprofens. Well, that didn't do anything besides getting me a good night's sleep, right? And waking up without a headache. But I still had to do the healing. And that was the start of my healing journey. That doesn't mean that my life was still, a bed of roses because, it goes comes in waves, right? You're okay. And then you get another experience and then it whacks you out of the ballpark. And so, but it was the start of my journey, my holistic journey, my healing journey, because I went to see a counselor and she said, yeah, Birgitta, you're going to be fine. You're strong enough. And I just sat there. I thought, what the heck? And so I did some research and I found someone who did Reiki. And that's how I rolled into Reiki. And I yeah, it took me a year and a half to do level 1 and 2. It's not like these, nowadays you can do it in a weekend. Boom, yeah, you're a healer. No, you really had to do your case studies and everything. But that was the start. And so I studied a lot of other healing modalities. EFT, I love EFT because it's so simple. And I became a meditation teacher. I studied aromatherapy and just many other healing modalities. And then I thought, you know what? I've got my life on track. Until I met another walking disaster when I bought a property in Florida, because I really just wanted to invest my money. And I bought a place in Florida in St. Petersburg on a whim, just like that. I went there, got a realtor, and bought a property. And this guy just wouldn't leave me alone. He procrastinated, lost his job. He had a reckless, and couldn't pay the fine. And he, financially, he kind of depended on me. And that's the story of my life. Every single one depended on me financially. It's incredible. It doesn't matter where you put me, it doesn't matter if you put me in the middle of a desert, I will still find a job, right? Because that's the attitude, that's my mindset,
Sure.
Right? And so it really, that was the pits for me, because he moved from 1 hour away to 2 doors down from me. Oh. And so I even put my home on the market, but it got so bad because I felt so imprisoned. I felt so isolated, having to help him out, buying groceries and paying his bills, helping him out, because he couldn't get out of that funk, because he also lost his mom and it was really hard on him. But you can't stay in that mode of grief. You have to, you have to kick the bucket and say, you know what? I've got to get up. I've got to do something with my life. But my fault was also that I enabled them, because I should have let them hit the bottom of that rock, so to speak, right? Yeah. Head on. And that was one of my lessons to learn. And I was a donkey, honestly, because every time I make the same mistake and I wasn't seeing it, and my guides were like, well, Birgitta, you're not seeing it. We're going to make it even worse for you. Maybe now you're going to wake up, right?
Yeah.
And I did. I woke up, and, this is probably 2015, 16, something like that. And I did. I was so depressed. I was crying on the floor. I was screaming at spirit. I was so angry. I said, I cannot go on like this anymore. I was a shimmer of myself. I was like a walking skeleton. And people were always like this to me. They were like, yeah, you're so skinny. And I went, yeah, but I have a fast metabolism. Which, yeah, I was a bit of a liar. And so, I did a session of combo healing. Combo healing is the frog tree. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
I haven't. How do you spell it? Did you say tumble healing?
Yeah, combo, Kambo.
Oh, so, combo heal. No, I haven't heard of it. What is it?
It's shamanic healing. And so when I was so down and out, when I was still in touch with my sister, she said, try combo healing. And I thought, okay, I'm about ready to try anything. And so it's shamanic. It's South American. And what it is like you have these monkey tree frogs, right? And they're green and they live in the Amazonian forest. And what the shaman does is they scrape the poison from the monkey frog.
Oh, yes, I've seen that. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what it was called. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so what this shaman did, I went, right? Honestly, I didn't really look into it, what it was, besides, the basics, because I didn't want to know. I wanted to go in with an open mind. Well, heck. So what the shaman did is, they burned it, like he did 3 or 4 points on my leg, burnt the top skin off, 4 points, and then put the dots on the poison. And my goodness,
frog poison.
Oh, the frog poison, yeah. Oh my goodness, I was I mean, I had a yellow bucket next to me, right? And I was purging. I had to drink 2 liters of water as well. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was
Wow.
purging. I had to run to the toilet and he had to help me because it came out both ways. And
Wow.
it was so physical, so physical. But it is such an amazing healing. It's, when you have spiritual healing or Reiki, that's completely different because it's like hands-on or it's distant or distant healing. But this is so physical, you can really feel yourself being pulled apart and put back together.
Oh my
That's how
goodness.
powerful it is. And, my ego was resisting because I've been conditioned for so many years. And, and the shaman was saying, you really need to keep purging. You need to stop, put your mind aside, put your ego aside. And yeah, so the first time was really, really difficult. Took 4 hours. And
What?
I couldn't even
Wow.
lie
That sounds
down. Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah. Gosh, I was exhausted. I slept a full
Oh,
day. But I went back. I went back. And the second time was so much better for me. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is so, I did it in 2 hours. And I could never lie down. I'm not wanting to be able to lie down because people see colors and everything. And I said, no, I can't. I really can't. I just need to walk around in nature.
wow.
And so that is what I did. But I mean, I didn't care that it was coming out left, right, and center. That's just combo for you.
Yeah.
And but what I did after that, I made a bucket list of everything that I wanted to do. So when my stepdad passed away in 2000, I had promised that I would run for cancer. Well, that stayed in my imagination for like 16 years up in my head. And so I finally did it. I finally started running for cancer, and other charities. And I absolutely loved it. So that was one thing. And then I went skydiving because I was shit scared. And so I did that. Oh, I was so glad when my feet touched the ground again. I thought, hey, not again.
Yeah,
But
I
it
don't
was,
think I
I
would
mean, it
do
was
that.
amazing. And so, yeah, from there, uh, there was a fair and Spirit kicked me out of my house. They were like, Brigitta, you're going to go to the fair. It was only 5 minutes down the road. And that is where I met my mentor, my former mentor, Alania Starhawk. And she got me, I walked through Akashic Records healing. So I went through past lives, especially because of my ex. And
There
that
was a
changed
healer.
the
There was a
energy.
healer at the fair.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow,
Yeah, Akashic Record Healer. So you walk through your
that's
past
amazing.
lives. That was really, really amazing. And so I got very, very ill when I met my last ex. And the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I couldn't eat, I couldn't even drink a whole cup of tea. And yet I went to work every single day. But it was horrific. And I really needed to learn to listen to my body. And then I found out because she didn't know what had happened. She said to me, in a past life, you were together. And she's like, you were very successful. This is the Middle Ages. And he was a charlatan, he was a real charmer, but he poisoned you with like an arsenic kind. I can't remember exactly. And he took care of me, but he kept poisoning me bit by bit. And yeah, and then he left like a thief in the night, took everything from me and left me to die. And because, it hit my stomach in that lifetime. So because I met him in this lifetime, it hit my stomach again.
Wow.
And it's really weird how these things happen. But once she changed that, the dynamics changed and we could be more civil towards one another. But that was the start of, yeah, that healing journey. And I went to a workshop. I always tell this story. I went to her workshop, to channel. And everyone was sitting in a circle, and I'm one of these idiots, right? I like to sit by myself. And so she did a meditation, counted to 3. And then when she counted back, I came back. I had no idea where I went. And everyone was saying, oh, I've seen this ascended master, blah, 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 this archangel. I've seen I got this message and all the colors. I'm telling you, Lena, I was so upset. I was really upset because I didn't see anything. And I was sitting there crying in a corner, right? Making sure that they didn't see. And then Alania said, well, how she started channeling was that she had a pad and a pen, and she said to spirit and to her guides, she said, you know what, I'm ready to receive. And that's when she started channeling. So that exercise stuck in my head. And when I went home, that's the first thing I did. I took a pen and pad and I said to spirit, I'm ready to receive. And boom, it just flowed.
What flowed?
Literally, the channeling just flowed.
What was coming out? What were you channeling?
Well, it was very old English prose, and it was about, it's in my book, there's several, but, about life, really, and about unconditional love. But when I started to do it every single day, right? Because that's what you do. When you go to the gym, you do it a couple of times a week, to stay fit. So when I went back to her, she's like, "Oh my God, you see, I told you you could, you could do it. You've now recovered it." I'm like, excuse me, but I've never channeled before. And she goes, "Well, this is really amazing because it's not like, it wasn't like one sentence. It was like a whole page. Mm-hmm. And some of it rhymed without me even knowing, right? Because when I write, it goes so fast. So, and then I started to do it every single day.
So is it when you started channeling, is that when you started to, I guess the word level up in your connection with the spirit?
Yeah, it's every time it's different, because I work a lot with Saint Germain, who I love. He's crazy, he's zany, he's quirky, he's eccentric, right? He's had many, many lifetimes. I also like Archangel Michael because he's like a Jack the Lad. He really is. And I always say, people always think that the archangels have wings. They were depicted as having wings in the medieval times. But when you look at the word archangel, right, and you decipher that, you take it apart, you get arc, right? A-R-C. Right. And arc is a spacecraft, right? And angels, well, with the H, angels are celestial beings of the heavens. So what are they? They're star beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they are.
And so these star beings were channeling through you when you were writing?
Yeah, many of them, yeah. But I did it differently. So, when I have my pack of cards, I have them, and I would just pick a card, and it would be an archangel, it would be an ascended master, it would be, a deity, it would be one of the Egyptian deities, for instance. And I would just sit down and not look it up on Google, right? Because that's cheating. Yeah. But sit down and just write down whatever was conveyed to me, because that's how you do it, right? You need to practice.
Right. So then you started practicing, and then at what point did you start to meet other, I guess for people listening to the first time, what is defined as a light being? I know that we're light beings and that we're light inside, and that there's all multitude of light beings, but for people that don't know what light beings are aside from us, how can we describe them, and what are their roles in our lives?
Well, there's so many light beings across the multiverse, as I say, because we're only one part, right? The Earth is only one part in the universe within the multiverse, so to speak. But light beings are seen as formless, but then we're all energy anyway, right? And we can transform, so to speak. It's just that we have a physical body right now, so it's kind of it's not like we can transform. We can transform into, well, no, that's a lie. Because if I say we can't transform, that's a lie, because we can transform, but it's not like we can become a chicken, right?
Right.
It's not like that.
At least not instantly.
No, exactly. But I mean, when we talk about ascended masters, when we talk about the Galactics, and the Seraphim, the Archangels, these are all light beings as well. So I call it a collective of light beings because we are all light. You know, when we leave this body, this physical body, our garment, right? When it's old and worn out, we become lights.
Yeah.
You know? That's what we are.
So I've been told by some psychics that I guess part of my ancestry are some light beings, some other light beings, some known as Arcturians and some known as Palladians. For people tuning in for the first time, what can you tell us about other light beings or all these people like Arcturians and Palladians and all these other type of light beings that exist out there? What are their roles? Do they come into our lives when we're not even aware of it?
Yeah, sometimes it's like, hey, hello, you know, they'll come and it's like, oh, because it's like a little breadcrumb, right? So everything, and that's how I see it. Sometimes I'll be given like a little breadcrumb and it's like, you follow that. So if somebody tells you, hey, you know, you are of Palladian or Arcturian descent, right? That's your ancestry, so to speak, up there. Then it's like, oh, do you know what? That's a sign I should be looking into that. Right? That's a nudge for you.
That is a nudge.
Yes. And there are many, many species out there. I mean, there are more species than the hair on your head, honestly. I talk about some that are in my book that are not even known. But like for me, I am from the outer fringes of the Syrian star belt. So
and what does that mean?
That means, I mean, the Syrian star belt, like just like the Palladian, star system, is vast, right? So it's not just the Palladians living there. There are other species as well. So when you have the Syrian star system, there are many different species. There's a lot of I call them the aquatic species. So aquatics from like Atlantis and Lemuria, where there were mermen and mermaids. So many different ones. Oh my gosh. Then you have the Cygnus star belt. So the Cygnus star belt would be very interesting. So, you have the Greek gods like Zeus. Well, I don't call him gods. I mean, he's an ascended master to me. But they're from the Cygnus star belt. So the Palladians are the Nordic gods like, like Thor and Loki. And people always say, well, they aren't real, but actually they are. There is a lot of truth in movies that we see, like even Star Wars. It's fascinating. Star Trek. There is so much in there. It's fascinating, yeah. So there are many, many different species. I mean, I love the Anunnaki. People always give them a bad rap, but I mean, every species is, they are evolving. Then you have the Dracos. They're not all good. The reptilians, I call them reptos. But
I was going to say the reptilians are the ones that I feel have a bad rap.
They do, but not all of them. They're not all bad. There's some that are, oh my gosh, I've seen them many a time in my astral travels, right? And many other species as well. And I said, I'm sick of your playbook on Earth. It's just the same old you keep doing on every single planet. And but it is for us to awaken, right? Because we are here to help Mother Earth ascend.
Yes.
And just like we have to ascend, right? And when we talk about 3D to 5D consciousness, it's a simple it's a mindset, right? That's a shift in consciousness. Where 3D is all very much about fear, about greed, about materialism, right? About power. And when you shift your mindset, then you understand that, we are not separate. We are all part of the whole. Right? We're all one. We're all interconnected with one another. And people have forgotten that because we're all brothers and sisters of the light. But we live in this separation, right? It's like this, we're all so divided. And for what? Why?
Hey, Bridget, I heard that, and I'm not, maybe you can confirm this, but I heard that animals come from their own universes. Is that true? Like cats have like their own planet and dogs have their own planet. Is that true?
Yeah, so dogs, yeah, there is the dog planet, that is correct. But it's not like animals do not evolve, because animals do evolve as well.
So,
But you are
okay.
you are right, you are right. But you know, the Lyrans are very cat-like, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Lyrans are very cat-like, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
A
So how
beautiful
did you
race,
learn
by the
the
way.
Bridget, how did you learn the light language, and how many light languages do you know?
It's not how many it's not how many light languages I know. So
It's
this
kind of
I
like
had
it
to go
just
for
flows through you then.
it flows through me, yeah.
Okay.
And I had to recover it, right? Recover it. It's not like so any ability, and I hate to use the word ability, but everything is within us, and it's
Sure.
about uncovering, about recovering that,
Oh, that makes
right?
sense. I love
It's about
that.
remembering. It's
Yes.
about remembering. And so for me, when I was and well, I lived in Lemuria as well, but I was captured by the Atlanteans because they were making hybrids, you know, these half animal, half
Yeah.
whatever other.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were
yeah.
doing that. And people always say, by the way, the Minotaurs did not exist. Actually, they did exist, and they were wonderful creatures. They were great warriors and actually helped out those in need, which is not even known. But I saw that in my astral travels when I kind of went back into another lifetime. And but the Atlanteans captured me and they used my voice for toning, because that's what light language does, right? It's toning, it's evening out the inconsistencies within, like, within yourself, within your body, and
Wow.
it realigns you back to the grid. And I always say, we are like sacred because we are sacred geometrical beings of the divine, right?
Right.
And people don't always get that, but we are, because our DNA is sacred, is encoded with sacred geometrical come on codes, so to speak. It's very hard to explain that sometimes, because I see it, um, but we are, because we're not. People always think, right, we're this physical body and that's it. But then you have to think of it this way. Well, how do you attract things in your life, right? Because you are the captain of your own ship, right? You vibe out exactly what you vibe back, what comes back in. But your mind, right, is the biggest wow. I mean, whatever you think, right? If you keep thinking something negative, that's exactly what will come to
Yeah,
fruition,
of
because that's
course. Yeah.
exactly what you vibe out.
Right, right. That's so true. And so this is
Mhm.
something that all the other light beings know and that humans are barely starting to understand.
I think, I mean, the world is people in the world are rapidly awakening now, which is kind of nice to see.
I have noticed that. It is really nice to see.
Yeah,
So another question about light language. When the light
yeah.
language flows through you, are you able to understand what you're saying and the message that's coming through?
No, because no, it's really weird. When I first started out, it was like,
How did you
what?
start it out? How did you start out anyway?
So how did I start out? So I had several transmissions, but it was like when somebody said to me, "Whoa, it's like you're in the garage, right? And you've got the toolbox. You've got all the tools there, but you need to just put the tools back into the car, so to speak, and tune up." And because I was just spluttering, like, when you've got a car and it's not working properly, you got to get it fixed, right? It's got to go into MOT, whatever, the garage. And so I had a wonderful teacher called Siobhan Purcell. She's still mentoring me. And I said, listen, I really need to get this light language going. And so I had to face to her. And I said, I don't care how hard you have to push me. I said, you do that.
Wow.
And after a few hours, finally it came out. It came out. And it was just amazing. Every time I do it, it's like I'm on a high.
Is it? Do you feel like you're like in a hypnotic state when you do that?
It's not really a hypnotic state. What happens is, I mean, I will get really hot from up here to here. And that's just, the vibration. But there are different beings that come through, and that's okay. It's not like you have to understand it on a, on this conscious level, but it is your soul that understands it. And that is the main thing.
So basically, you feel what's coming out. You feel the message rather than comprehend it.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because your soul needs to understand it. So when you have a light language healing session, your soul understands it. And that's the main thing. You don't have to. You just close your eyes and you allow it to wash over you, so to speak.
Yeah, I've been doing that on TikTok. TikTok at night is off the hook. There's so many spiritual people on TikTok at night. So it's probably around 9 or 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over here in California. And I get on TikTok all happily, all anticipating these light languages. And sure enough, there's a lot of people sending messages and vibrations, and they go through a short little meditation. You close your eyes and you let the message come in and stuff. It's beautiful. Some of it's like, how are these sounds coming out of your vocal cords?
I know.
It's amazing. It's like your body becomes this amazing instrument, and these sounds I never thought a human could ever make is coming out.
I know. Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
And everybody speaks it differently.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
So what, do you want a demo?
Yeah. Is it too much for you? Does it take up too much of your energy doing something like this?
No, it's fine. It's fine, honestly.
And right now, when you're about to, let's say, do a demo of a light language, are you do you know what you're going to channel right away? Do you know what? No. So just whoever comes in is welcome type thing?
Yeah.
Awesome, Bridget. Let's do it. Show us your beautiful light language.
So is there like an intent that you have? Is there anything?
Yeah, my intention is to heal the world and to help people elevate their consciousness to vibrate at higher frequencies so we can all unite humanity with love.
Mm-hmm. But for you?
Same thing. To elevate me, to fill me in with love so that love can come on back to me as much as I give it.
So, but it's also what? To expand your consciousness?
Absolutely.
There you go. That's what.
Yeah, to expand it. Yes.
Yes, that's what we want, right?
Yes.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you.
Okay. I always say just close your eyes, right? And just take a very, very deep breath in. All right. And just let it go. And I will say this when I start, all right? Just let it wash over you. And sometimes if you want, you can imagine like a beautiful white light shaft, so to speak, going through your crown chakra, if that helps you.
Okay, thank you.
All
right. Does help me.
Wish me to you mean to la 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 la. Shimi. Young na he hacho malela ami cha cha ha. Mita atini chiching lili mi la 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 lili Ushimala lili atitida la 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 chichi chichi ushishi chichi mi la 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 chichi chichi ni chichi no ashmi lili mi la 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 chichi mi
Awesome. How do you feel, Brigitta?
I'm high.
Is that what that feels
How
like?
do you feel?
I
How do
feel
you feel?
great. I feel wonderful. So the feelings I got, I actually felt that there was some storytelling. I felt that there was a message. I felt like it was definitely somebody with a lot of wisdom and
Mm.
kind of telling me with their vocal ways of explaining things, the things that I need to be, I guess, grateful for. I need to feel into my life and to trust that there's energy around me taking care of me and guiding me. That's kind of the message that I get from it.
Yeah, that's on a soul level. I must also say, I don't know if you have that sometimes the ringing in your ears. Do
I
you have that
sometimes do.
sometimes? Yeah. So these are downloads as well, but I think it's also because you are Claire. It's one of your Claires. Claire, blah, blah, I can't even think right now. It's the
Clairvoyant.
hearing. No, not clairvoyant. The hearing.
Oh, a clairaudient. Clairaudient.
Clairaudient.
Yes, that's awesome. So
Mm.
I have one more question here, and then I
Yes.
briefly, I know we're running out of time, but I still want to talk about your book before we get off.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So when I meditate or whenever I allow light coming in, does it matter if I
Mm.
wear a hat or not? Like I always feel I should take my hat off. It doesn't really matter. A message is gonna come through no matter what, whether you're wearing a
Yeah,
hat or not.
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. I had to
Yeah,
make
it
sure on
doesn't
that.
matter. It's however you feel comfortable, whatever you feel comfortable with. There's no right or wrong.
I love that. That's true. There is no right or wrong. Bridget, tell
No,
us
it's just
about your
like,
book.
oh yeah. But one more thing, it's like
Yeah.
experiences, right? There's no right or wrong in how you choose to experience life. Same thing.
So true. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. So my book, gosh, Becoming Authentically Me, yeah, that's really about it's split into two. So the first part is really about shifting consciousness, right? And everything that's been going on. Um, in these in the transitional times that we live in. And I talk about the fact that there is no death because people always think there is death, but there is no death
Right.
because you are eternal, right?
Right. Yes.
That's
Eternal
it.
light
You're
being.
eternal. You go on. Gosh, you
Right.
can't die.
Exactly. We transition.
Yeah, we transition. That's it. And the second part is really about my life, and it's infused with many of the channeled messages from the many masters. Um, and I mean, like I've like I told you, I mean, I've been a slow turtle, I've been a donkey many a time, but they take it very, tongue in cheek because life is people take life so seriously, and life is meant to be enjoyed, right? Should be
Yes.
loving life, but we get so
Right.
bogged down within our experience because we think it's so real that we forget that, oh, hang on, actually life is a cosmic game of evolution, right? It's like a board game. That's what it is. And if you look at it that way, then why do you take your experiences so seriously?
Right. I love that cosmic game of evolution.
Yeah. So I talk about depression as well. It's a Q&A with Archangel Michael. And oh man, he suffers from verbal diarrhea sometimes, but I love him. And I talk about mental health as well, a Q&A with Saint Germain. So it's really a lot of these issues, something, and even body dysmorphia, and like me starving myself. So these are all Q&As with the masters because I like to get their view on it. So it's great that all the things that I did to myself, but it's one of it's just nice to get it from another perspective, and that's how I've done it in my book.
And how can our viewers or watchers or listeners find your book and find you if they need to get a hold of you?
They can find my book on Amazon, of
Awesome.
course, and they can find me on Instagram under Universal Light Warriors, and the same for Facebook under Universal Light Warriors, and my website, powersoulhealing.com. And
Thanks so much.
I mean,
What's that?
no, I was gonna say, you know what? And there's so much more in my book than just that little fraction of what I just said. But
Well, I can't
it's
wait to
really
take a look at it because I'm highly interested. Let me tell you that. Birgitta Visser,
thank you.
everybody, on a Little Less Fear podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to pick up your copy of her book, Becoming Authentically Me, a way to shift your consciousness, different ways of shifting your consciousness. Thanks so much for sharing your incredible light energy, your beautiful light language, and your beautiful soul. You are my soul sister. I know it.
Thank you so much for having me, Lino.
Absolutely. You have a blessed day now.
You too.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to a Little Less Fear podcast. You know, I keep going because of all of you, all of the viewers, the supporters, the listeners, the followers, the subscribers, the feedback, the comments that I get. I'm just really grateful to be where I'm at and to be able to bring all these people here on this platform to motivate the world. It motivates me to keep going. It motivates me. It lights me up to keep going and going and going. And because of that, my website's also going strong. I've created an incredible resource page for all kinds of people. Anybody needing support of any kind, please check out my website at www.alittlelessfear.com. And I've also launched freelance poetry for businesses, for marketing, for people needing people that need something creative. Check it out. Check it out. It's fun. There's video poetry. It's visual poetry. And if you have any other questions for me, you can also email me at littlelessfear@gmail.com. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you all, and just a million thanks. Thank you. Have you heard the old saying, you must love yourself before you can love anyone else? People often share that saying as the ultimate friendship and relationship advice, but they don't provide any guidance on how to love yourself. And it leaves us feeling either defensive, like it was only our fault that our friendships and relationships failed, or it leaves us with more questions than answers. How do I love myself? What are the steps? Where do I get started? That's why I want to invite you to a 3-day virtual conference, Love Yourself First, How to Develop Supportive Friendships and Meaningful Relationships. The conference takes place February 10th through February 12th, 2023. And at this virtual conference, you'll learn the secrets to loving yourself so that you can create lasting connections that will enrich your life. Tickets are now on sale. If you use my promo code LESSFEARSPECIAL, LESSFEARSPECIAL, on or before Friday, December 16th, 2022, you'll receive exclusive access to special hidden tickets. And these tickets are only available with my promo code. If you buy your tickets after December 16th, use the promo code LESSFEAR20, LESSFEAR20. You'll receive a 20% discount. 20% is good, but it's not as amazing as the special hidden ticket prices. So get your tickets sooner rather than later. Also, because we know you'll want to share the love with a friend, if you buy 2 tickets in a single transaction, you'll also receive a 50% discount on the second ticket. If your friendships and relationships are missing the joy, affection, and the genuine conversation that you deeply desire, then you need to get your tickets for the 3-day Love Yourself First conference for February 2023. Reserve your space by going to https://alwaysloveyourselffirst.eventbrite.com. And don't forget to use the promo code LESSFEARSPECIAL. Once again, get your tickets at https://alwaysloveyourselffirst.eventbrite.com and use promo code LESSFEARSPECIAL before December 16th to get your special promo tickets. I will be speaking on the topic of affection. And I can't wait because I love affection and this is going to change your life. I really look forward to meeting all of you and to being of support. Thank you so much.